opportunities for the Seahawks in the final 2 minutes and 8 seconds.
It's insane.
Inside the Cincinnati 10. Fourth down. Twice the Bengals slammed the door on the Seattle Seahawks, who could have / should have, but didn't win that game on Sunday. Bengals win 17-13.
5 trips to the red zone, 1 touchdown.
Wow.
Right? That's a pretty phenomenal stat when you talk about, it's Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker. What? I mean, that's what we're down to here. But here was the first goal line stand. And we saw this throughout the day, right, Mike? I mean, Geno with people around him and then obviously not liking what he's seeing down the field. Lou Anarumo and company, the defense coordinator for the Bengals, obviously had a good game plan, understood what the Seahawks were trying to do in the pass game because it did not look like when we showed replays that people were wide open. But, I think in the big moments down in the red zone, whether it was creating a turnover or another turnover that gave the Bengals field goal, and then the red zone stops, that was the story of the game. You're right, because I think for the most part, you sit there and go, it felt like the Seahawks outplayed Cincinnati, not by a great margin or anything like that. But, yeah, the mistakes of Seattle certainly were, I think the headline of the football game. There's some good things about the Bengals and their performance either way, but yeah, that's one where Seattle's going to be kind of angry watching the film back today.
I just want to say one thing about Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
At some point, he's getting benched. At some point, he'll get benched. He plays like he did yesterday. He's going to get benched because Drew Lock is not that far behind him. We saw it 2 weeks ago. Monday night game.
Yep, he came in and did a good job.
And that game shouldn't have been 24-3. That game should have been 42-3. The Seahawks offense has not been operating at the level that it could be or should be, and the guy that's going to get the blame at some point, if they sputter, if they struggle, if they lose, it's going to be Geno. I think that the window on him is narrower than anyone realizes because they have full faith in Drew Lock, who was questionable yesterday with an ankle, so I'm not saying that anything should happen yesterday, but that's a bad interception there in the red zone. Now, we were looking at the one, and we're going to show it here.
Here it is. Here.
This may have been a bad route by DK Metcalf.
Yeah, right.
And DK Metcalf's got to control himself, too. He had that moment where he
He's
put
all
a guy
over
on
the
his
place
ass.
here lately.
I mean, too emotional. You got to control your emotion. You got to do what you have to do, so when you're in the moment, you don't let that raw energy just take over and cause you to do dumb stuff.
Yeah, agreed there. I don't think we're at let's bench Geno territory yet.
I'm not either. I'm just saying.
But if things go negative, he's going to be the fall guy. Yeah. I do agree with you there.
When you have that other guy that you believe in, at some point you say, let's see what the other guy can do.
And you're not bought in that he's like the long-term future, right? We're still probably in the evaluation process.
That contract is after 1 year, they can rip it up.
Right. But I hear you there. Game was interesting. I think early on, like Joe Burrow and the Bengals looked really good, right? You heard me saying it. And one of the things I've kind of been saying about the Bengals is like, you're not good at anything. So what are you going to be good at? I've been kind of on my podcast been like, be the masters of the short passing game. And the first 2 touchdown drives of the game were the Bengals just Joe Burrow 4 here, Joe Burrow 5 here, Joe Burrow 4 here. He was picking apart the Seahawks. It was surgical. That's what I wrote in my notes. But then the Seahawks made an adjustment, and really kind of the Seahawks defense controlled the game. Really, after the Bengals went up 14-7, it was tough sledding for their offense the rest of the day. It looked like the Seahawks said, hey, screw all these zones. Burrow's going to look us off and pick us apart. So let's start playing some man-to-man. We'll pressure him a little bit, but we're not going to let him have these easy 4- and 5-yard completions where he reads the defense out. That, to me, is what it looked like. I'll get a better look when I watch the film later. The Seahawks defense definitely played well enough for them to win the football game. To your point, the offense dropped the ball. And guys, if we could show those 2 interceptions again, too, because I'd like to bring it back to what Mike was talking about a little. One, I think the Seahawks offense is another offense where a little bit like the Bengals, where I go, it could use a little more creativity. But, second goal, 14-10 football game, third quarter, the game slowed down. Yeah, Geno, the safety was over there. That's not the look you want to throw that ball into. And then just to throw it blindly doesn't make sense. And then this one here, I gotta think is on DK Metcalf. There's a safety over the top here too.
3 Bengals there.
Right. So I don't understand what happened there, but then the good return by Cam Taylor-Britt puts them in field goal position, and that was their last points of the game. So they scored a touchdown with 12:20 left in the second quarter. They didn't do jack diddly squat until that interception that returned it to, I believe, like the 35-yard line, and they got 0 yards on the first, second, and third down and kicked a field goal and won 17-13 because their defense made big plays and big moments throughout the day to shut down Geno and that Seahawks offense.
Last point, and then we have to take a break.
Okay.
Geno Smith, through 5 games, they're 3-2.
Yeah.
He's completing 67.7% of his passes. Okay, that's good.
Right.
5 touchdown passes, 3 picks, average per attempt of 7.1. That's not getting the ball down the field. 7.1 used to be good. 7.1's not high end anymore.
No.
And passer rating of 90.7. I don't know how much stock anyone puts in that, but that used to be good. That's trending toward middle of the pack now. The point is, after games like yesterday and they break down the film and they look at what went right and they look at what went wrong, it just inches you closer to wondering at what point do they give Drew Lock a chance. That's all I'm saying.
I hear
Consider
you.
the contract they gave him and how close it was last year and how close it still is. It's just something to keep an eye on. I'm not rooting for it. West Virginia guy. We got to be realistic about it, especially because Lock looked good when he had that moment.
He did. They got to protect Geno a little bit, and they got to get their right tackle back. I think when they get their right tackle back, he'll have a fighting chance because that's the other thing we didn't talk about. Hendrickson, the other damn D end, Hubbard. I mean, B.J. Hill, DJ Reader, it seemed like they dominated the Seattle offensive line. Right, exactly right. They can dominate football games, and they did that in the big moments in this one.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.